Hi, I'm Francesca Best, and this is my first reflection. So, here are some scientific facts on earthquakes. Earthquakes are a way that the earth releases stress. Rocks are put under pressure, which strains rock layers and causes rock to warp. Earthquakes are a result of stress overpowering the force of friction, causing rocks to move suddenly and produce waves of energy. One type of fault is a dip-slip fault, where the movement of rock is mostly vertical. A strike-slip fault is when movement is primarily horizontal. Bends of faults can be produced as a result from parts of the fault pushing against each other. Transform faults can move in the same or opposite direction and are linked to spreading centers and/or subduction zones on the ocean floor. The vibrations one feels during an earthquake is a result of numerous types of energy waves. P waves are the fastest waves and produce thunder-like noises and shaking of windows. S waves are the second waves to hit, and they shake and bend the ground, which is what causes the most damage to homes and buildings. Love and Rayleigh waves are created by P and S waves. Love waves create a side-to-side motion, and Rayleigh waves produce backwards rolling waves. Okay, so let's talk about volcanoes. The plate boundary that produces the most volcanoes is subduction zones. A volcano eruption starts with rock being heated in the mantle, causing it to rise towards the asthenosphere. As it rises, decompression melting occurs, which causes most of the rock in magma to melt as pressure decreases. Temperature increases, and added water also contributes to the melting of rock. As the magma continues to rise, the decreasing pressure causes gas bubbles to form. This breaks up the magma and causes it to be projected out of the volcano, where it accumulates air and causes a plume. Magma can be found in reservoirs that connect to one another due to earthquakes or from rising magma. There also can be water reservoirs in the ground too that magma can come in contact with, which will cause more gas bubbles because of steam. The very hot rock will interact with water and create a bunch of steam, which produces more violent eruptions. There are multiple factors that drive a volcano's intensity. The water content, viscosity, and amount of gas all contributes to eruptive style. Increased water content produces more violent eruptions. Viscous lava is trapping water and gases, which causes the most explosive eruptions. The more gas present in magma, the more explosive an eruption can be, depending on the water content and viscosity. Eruptions can produce pyroclastic material, ash, blocks, bombs, etc., plumes, lava flows, pyroclastic flows, lahars, and more. There are 5 types of volcanoes in order of least to most intense, generally speaking. Icelandic, Hawaiian, Strombolian, Volcanian, and Plinian. Okay, so here are some psychological factors on why people may want to either leave or stay in a dangerous area. Some people after disaster strikes want to visit the area due to fascination with these natural events. In Sicily, Italy, Mount Etna began erupting on December 24, 2025, and continued to produce lava flows for many days. The government implemented restrictions on touring these lava flows, which caused frustration from tour guides. Others, on the other hand, flee when an eruption is imminent. In Bali, Mount Mayon started showing signs of increased activity in September 2014, causing residents to evacuate to safer areas. The history of this volcano also urges citizens to leave danger zones to hopefully escape from a possible pyroclastic flow. Despite its violent history, however, farmers and other citizens still live near the volcano. Those living on the San Andreas fault line are not worried about the imposing danger of an earthquake. Despite the almost certainty that an earthquake of a magnitude 6.7 or bigger in the next 30 years, residents of California are not making any plans to evacuate. Some believe it is up to their fate in this world, trusting that whatever happens to them is what was meant to occur. So here are some social and economic factors on why people choose to live in disaster-prone areas. One reason is that some people are born in dangerous areas and have a connection to the land there. To leave your hometown would also result in leaving your family and friends if they still live in the area. I grew up in Florida, and because of this I love this state very much. I could not see myself living in another state or even an area too far from Tampa. People grow attached to the places they associate with fond memories, whether that is because of a childhood spent there or even a family vacation. Another reason is because these areas provide people with jobs or economic stability. Volcanoes produce ash and lava that cause fertile soil, which is very helpful to farmers. The San Andreas Fault line just so happens to be in a large state that contains many big cities. People move to California for the weather, people, and opportunities despite the looming danger of earthquakes. If you were to move out of a dangerous area, you would have to search for a new job, which many cannot afford to do. Moving can be costly and is not always guaranteed that you'll be able to find another job elsewhere quickly. All right, so this is my comparative analysis on how people reacted to disasters in different locations and in different time periods. So, in Iceland in 1973, eruptions began taking place on the island of Heimaey, which began to threaten the harbor previously built upon cool lava flows. As the lava flows and pyroclastic material began to destroy buildings and move farther towards the town, citizens fought back. They bulldozed volcanic material to change the direction of lava flows, removing in, and used seed water to quickly cool lava flows that pushed towards the harbor. These residents used the volcanic activity to improve their town instead of letting the event destroy it. However, in 1902, Mount Pelee, I hope I said that correctly, on Martinique began to show signs of increased activity, causing residents to emigrate from the town. Despite this growing concern, a net increase of 400 people a day continued to move to the region. After a deadly pyroclastic flow, concern spread through the city as people worried about the imminent danger of a larger eruption. The governor, however, decided to not let anyone leave the city because of the upcoming election in 5 days. This fatal decision costed the lives of everyone in the city except for only 2 people. The volcano continued to erupt and kill thousands of people for months after the original eruption. People still returned to inhabit the city despite the possibility of another deadly eruption. The city of Seattle sits on a fault that had a major earthquake 1,100 years ago and has been relatively quiet since. However, in 1996, a 5.4 magnitude earthquake shook the city. Seattle's baseball team moved to a different stadium, however the city's buildings and infrastructure have not been reinforced yet. It is estimated that a major earthquake could damage a large amount of the city's infrastructure and produce a tsunami which could increase the number of deaths and damages. So in Iceland in the 1970s, they used this eruption to their advantage. They improved their city, they worked around it, and they did not let it get in their way. However, in 1902, in Martinique, the governor decided to not do anything to help his people or help their people or evacuate the city. Instead, they actually kept everybody in, which only increased death tolls. In Seattle, even though an earthquake seems unlikely since it hasn't had much activity, despite a recent earthquake, the city has not made much effort to support their infrastructure at all. So a common theme here is that it's hard for cities to obviously predict earthquakes, so sometimes they don't have the funds in order to protect the infrastructure, and also political motives can cause politicians to act against what someone would normally do in this situation. So here are some key themes that I have found as we've moved through the course thus far. Tectonic events are random. They cannot be predicted, but warning signs do give us an opportunity to prepare for upcoming disasters. Even if an area is known to have increased dangerous activity, people will still inhabit this area. Human activities can help cause disasters or increase the damage done by them. There are steps we can take to decrease the effect these events have on our society. These disasters can be beneficial. For example, volcanic ash provides nutrients to the soil, and we can learn from volcanoes and earthquakes. The events that occur today can be linked to millions of years of tectonic movement, causing similar disasters along fault lines, hotspots, and plate boundaries. It is important to remain familiar with protocols for disasters and gather as much information as we can from these disasters. As technology improves and knowledge increases, we are better equipped to handle disasters in most cases. Thank you so much.